Hey, hey. Happy Friday, everybody. How you doing? Hey, Chad.
Hey, no background music while we're waiting.
The background thing is super wonky. I think once you unmute yourself, it like just stops the music. I'm not really sure how it works, to be honest. You can't just like turn it on.
I thought you could just like turn it on, just leave it on if you wanted to. Although nobody really does that, obviously. But
I'm playing around with the settings and it doesn't seem like it's turning on.
yeah, all right, well, whatever.
Well, maybe you could sing for us instead.
It'll cost you.
What's up, guys? GM.
Hey, man. Good morning.
Morning. And yeah, I think you're right because the other week I said one thing and then I killed the music and then it was very disappointing.
Yeah, you can't just like press a button and it starts back up. I mean, Twitter's so broken that the issue won't be fixed until like June or something like that. So we'll just have to wait until then, when we finally get a good platform for Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, if ever.
I'm hoping to make it more like there's why can't you do it on desktop? Like that just does not make any sense. Why we can't just host these or with video? Like there's so much stuff you can do with this.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. That was like the desktop thing. We were talking about that feels like a year ago, and I don't know if they even care to fix that. Maybe they just aren't even gonna pursue it.
They could make Twitter into the biggest podcasting app if they really tried, you know?
Oh yeah.
Don't worry me. I'm just playing a little "Wind Beneath Your Wings" for you guys. It's a classic. It's a classic tune.
I think we all need to sing along to start these spaces, just like a little trio harmonizing.
You want to do a barbershop quartet?
Oh man, we could write like a THORChain themed barbershop quartet intro. I think that's what we really need as a community to, you guys say we need more marketing. I think that's the ticket.
Dude, that would be hilarious. We need somebody in the queue needs to like just record like a four-part acapella, like 30-second spot song for THORChain. That'd be hilarious.
Some podcasts have like sick intros, like they get like an actual track made specifically for their podcast. Like we should do that. We should have some epic like 30 to 60-second intro.
Actually, like I was reading that OpenAI has this thing called Jukebox they're working on. It's like coming out at some point, but like where it's the same thing where you can like ask it like describe something and it'll just generate a song or generate some music. So if you want to do like a THORChain based barbershop quartet, you could like type that out and it'll just like generate a song on the spot.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. I was playing with one of those. I don't remember which it was. My friend was showing it to me, but it's like pretty impressive. I mean, it has a ways to go. I don't know if you could get it to actually say the words you want because it's kind of like it. You know how like the AI image ones kind of have like broken words and like broken faces sometimes. It was kind of like that. Like it seemed like a song, but it wasn't. Finished.
Yeah, but the words they've already got with the OpenAI like ChatGPT thing, right? So you could like write me lyrics for a song about THORChain, I don't know something, and then take that output and you put it into the OpenAI jukebox, and then it like combines the two. Like that'd be pretty slick.
Yeah, definitely possible. I mean, it's kind of like deep fakes too. I mean, they're already doing people's voices, and we could make it sound like you singing all four parts. I think that would.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, I
Tell you
think it's
what,
more likely that there's going to be some kind of AI that'll just replace it. So like we can just feed them all of the podcasts that we've done. This is the 53rd space I think, which is just insane to me, by the way, that we've done this many of them. But like that's all just data. Like those are all saved, and that's going to be our replacement when we're finally done with
I mean, how does the
these.
audience How does the audience really know that's not what we're already doing?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I get really bored this week, I will attempt to create a 30-second multi-vocal part, barbershop quartet style, just for the community. It'll be terrible, but it'll
Yeah,
be
man.
fun.
Break out the piano or the ukulele. I know you got it
I
in
got
you.
I got somewhere deep down inside. I'll have to find it.
Yeah, maybe you should work on the rune price instead.
Can
I'm
Dev
just
do
kidding.
something? Can can Dev do something about the
We need
barbershop
like
quartet?
$6 rune the theme song, maybe.
Oh, dude, $6 rune theme song? That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot of rhymes. Rune, moon, soon. You know, you can work with that.
All right. If I get bored and I get nothing else to do, which almost never happens, but I'll throw it together in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure you have nothing better to be working on, to be honest.
Yeah, guys. So Trust Wallet iOS finally it's finally here. Like we finally made it to the Trust Wallet iOS, and just so happy to see that this is like finally out. Like I don't think people realize how long of a process it's been. I think it's about 18 months since like the first conversations with Trust Wallet. So and that's like all encompassing from like first like approaching them about doing the swaps and then saying like oh yeah you guys are in the queue and then it just keeps getting pushed back and these product teams they take a long time to like research THORChain and just like see how the product works and get their own assurances uh, about how it works and how they can offer it to their users. And then we finally saw in December it come to Android, and like the activity on there is just like it's really cool to see. Even though they're only offering a couple swap routes, they're only really offering Bitcoin, Ether, and a couple of BNB beacon chain routes. They're still absolutely killing it on uh, swap volume and with the number of transactions, it's probably roughly equal to THORSwap, but that's in like a month of Android only with 3 chains on Trust Wallet, which is just incredible. And now we finally get to see it on iOS. So it's still only the 3 chains, I believe. I don't think they've added any more swap routes. Still working on that front, but just want everyone to know like how long of a time this has been like coming and be like just iterating through this and getting the teams to work together on this stuff. We're just so glad that it's finally here, and I could talk about this in a little bit, but like Trust is really the first like big THORChain integration. I think everyone here kind of understands that, but it's just the first, and it's like it's going to be the first of this whole line of dominoes that it is like ready to fall. They're just so big that you can't see the dominoes. They're massive, but they like Trust. Other people are looking at what Trust Wallet is doing and what they're offering to their users, and uh, they're going to want to offer the same services to their users. And so uh, this is just realizing the vision of THORChain as this native asset infrastructure and just where we're going to see THORChain in the future. Like, we've been talking about how it's just going to be invisible in the background of these apps. And Trust is just the first. So, and looking at the success of Trust, like the success is really there, and it's not even full featured as we want to push them to be offer Doge swaps, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, everything. So just so excited to see like what's going to come out of this Trust thing, and then the further implications of Trust in other wallets needing to match their features and just kind of keep up with their users.
Yeah, totally. Like, obviously, Trust Wallet was a big thing for us and for the community, and we've ongoing conversations with um, probably most major wallets that you can think of off the top of your head. We're probably already in communication and talking and advocating for, and code changes are being made in other wallets as well. So I'm hoping that everything will just get to a point where, like, it's like if your wallet doesn't have THORChain integration, then it's rather silly or like a basic wallet, not even like one that people would actually really want to use. So it's like it'd be interesting to see how this kind of changes over the next couple of years, but it's going to be a slow process to what Kyle was just saying. I mean, it took many months to get Trust Wallet integrated, and it took more months to get other ones integrated as well. But once we do, it is for me. It's just like we're just like loading the spring, so that when the market goes bull again, and well, probably in a couple of years or so, that we have like already integrated a bunch of different things, and so when trading kicks off, like all these things will just spring off together in unison, and so it's gonna be really great for the project.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see, and it's only going to get better. As you said, hopefully they keep pursuing expanding the integration. So many other things for them to offer, and yeah, just the first domino to fall. Have you guys checked even in the last just what's it been 2 days? Like, has there been any noticeable uptick? I haven't looked at the
Yes,
data.
but there is a slight issue because they aren't using their Thor name address in the so the old queries are, like if you look at like I don't know, like the that old THORswap Trust Wallet dashboard that's together. I don't believe that'll include any of the iOS ones because I think they're using a slightly different syntax for their swaps, so they're not using their Thor name, I believe, for whatever reason that they might have just left it out. Like we're working with them on that. So if you look at any of the old dashboards, I don't believe it'll include any iOS volume at all until that's updated. So just know if you're looking at like a dashboard, then that's probably not on there right now. But I believe that people are updating their apps right now, and it's definitely there's definitely going to be like some kind of incline over the next couple of weeks as people update their apps and get to know the feature. And obviously we're going to be working on like the marketing side of getting together with Trust Wallet and just putting out some awareness for the feature. So we're like in the process of coordinating them. And so yeah, we'll do some Twitter Spaces with them, maybe Binance Live, or whatever else we can do. We're gonna put some stuff together with them to just put some more awareness for this feature. We just got to work with their team to do that. So like I think we saw this with the Trust Wallet Android integration, where if you look at like how many swaps happen, it's just like it's a gradual incline until it finally like plateaus off around like 200 to 250 the swaps per day on Trust Wallet Android. So I think we'll probably see around the same on iOS, where the number of swaps per day will just stay on an incline until eventually it levels off, and there's some kind of consistent level for like how much people are swapping on any given day. So that's kind of my prediction for what we see with Trust iOS over the next like month or so. We'll see it increase until eventually levels off, and then we get some kind of baseline for like how many swaps are coming through Trust Wallet per day.
Yeah, and then like Chad was saying, when the market really comes back, the compounding effect of that is like absolutely insane. Because imagine we're back in a period where everyone's trading more, everyone's swapping more. Trust Wallet is getting 10,000 new users a day, and everyone's onboarding. I mean, like these, even like a small integration in this market is gonna seem like a big integration. Sorry, I got a call. I don't know where I cut out.
Yep, I can hear you. You're back.
Yeah, no, just like even small integrations are going to compound so much, and become a big integration when the market's really roaring again.
Yeah, and Trust is definitely no small integration. Like as I said, that they're just about matching Thor swaps. I don't believe that the dollar value, because the actual dollar value of each transaction is smaller for the most part on Trust Wallet, but the entire number of swaps is about roughly the same, I would say, which is very obviously that's very impressive. Being that they just implemented it with so few swap routes on just Android for now. So once this integration is finally like up to feature complete, like I would say with iOS, and then we would what we'd really like to see is them also integrating the other chains, which they have, which is native Rune, obviously, which is a huge amount of THORswap's volume, but that's something that Trust Wallet doesn't capture at all right now, or just any of the other native chains, which is pretty much everything else that THORChain supports is also supported by Trust Wallet. So that's just some more simple integrations. They could just be seeing a ton more volume. And yeah, like what you're saying with like just loading the spring for the bull market, right? We see this on any like really high volume days. You can see the APRs on all the pools just go like way up. Or if you're at LP, you can see your yield like shoot way up. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's like noticing that on like these like very volatile high volume days where there's a ton of traffic. They really do drive a lot of value towards the LPs and savers. So yeah, just so cool seeing this with Trust. And like the point that I wanted to make from before was like that like 18 months that it took to get Trust implemented. Like that's probably around like that's probably a pretty average time frame for like how long we expect like a lot of some of these other like major integrations to happen. And that's just because like these other teams in offering a THORChain product to their customers, like they need to be doing the research and their due diligence and looking at the security of THORChain and getting these assurances for themselves, so that way they don't offer their users like some kind of scam product or something, and they're like really understanding what it is that they're offering their customers. And moving these organizations that have millions and millions of users, they deliberately want to move very slowly because they don't want to break anything on their app. They want to maintain like a consistent user experience. So it makes sense why these guys move so slowly. And that's also like kind of why the THORChain protocol is also trying to move slowly, because now that we are the service providers for these major apps serving millions of users at this point, and it's continuing to grow through these integrations. Any network downtime or issues or anything, consensus failure, anything that could happen, like these are all conversations that we need to have with all these partners, and like we don't want to be going up to Trust Wallet and saying like, oh yeah, trading's paused, there's a there's something going on, we need to fix something or whatever. What we want to do is be this boring, reliable piece of infrastructure that Trust and all these other wallets can say like, oh yeah, we're just going to implement it because it just works, and we don't need to worry about the security. And these guys are taking their time to review new features coming onto the protocol and to not make any decisions that's going to break and make this not a good move for us. Like if something happens to THORChain, that's a negative thing for Trust as well at this point. So it's like we also need to be just keeping on top of the security game there, and like just realizing like how long it takes to actually implement on these protocols, and just move at the same pace and offer a reliable experience to all the integrators and wallets and dexes and things that want to use THORChain's infrastructure because it's reliable.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the same thing on the THORswap partners side. Like, just a really important piece of that is trying to get as many for example, as many aggregator swaps through. So like there's things we're doing, there's things that like conversations with the core team and stuff around that, even just because we want this technology to disappear, right? Like that's kind of what we've always talked about. And that's a huge part of these major integrations is like, you don't want too many snags and hiccups and weird edge cases, as little as possible. I mean, obviously this is like a lot more complicated than a spreadsheet on a centralized exchange. So there's always going to be like, things that are just inherent to this technology, like timing and fees and whatever. But, the more we can make it just disappear and be seamless, then that's what a partner needs. So they can just focus on product and customer and their user, and delivering like the best app, the best DEX, whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see like, so as I was saying, trust is like the first domino, and people are going to see what trusts are doing and decide that this is like a service that they want for their own users. All these, self-custodial wallets that need a swap service, and that want something that's decentralized and reliable. And that's what THORChain's here to be. Like this is realizing the vision uh of the protocol and getting actual users using it. So yeah, super excited to see like what's next. I think the next big integration that is probably going to come down the pipe is Unizen, which has been talked about a little bit, not a bunch, but they're a big aggregator, and they are probably the next one to come out of the pipe there. So they announced that already. So uh, it's not like I'm breaking any news here, but maybe people here haven't heard that Unizen was integrating THORChain for their aggregator. They have a very popular and full featured aggregator, so I believe they'll be the next major protocol to implement THORChain swaps into their router.
Yeah, same with as last we were talking about Shapeshift. So Shapeshift also interface with their like the savers aspect. So I'm excited to see more protocols or wallets or whatever to do not just the swap side of things, but the saver side as well.
Yeah, savers will be huge. I mean, if trust type wallets start integrating savers, I mean that is huge, and that even ties in with like the staking shenanigans we're seeing in the last day or so, on centralized exchanges. So maybe that makes that more compelling. Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into that yet, but are you guys on top? Have you guys been following that pretty closely?
With like savers on Shapeshift, or just savers in general?
Oh no, I was just like, well, savers in general, but I was just comparing it to like the staking issue, of centralized exchanges just in the past day or two, like the legal, regulatory stuff, and that, you know, I don't know, I haven't been super on top of it yet, so I'm curious if you guys have, but maybe that's even a good thing for decentralized yield that is not through a centralized exchange, unless it's just like a overbearing thing, which
Yeah,
would be
I
bad.
mean it's a bit odd and a little bit difficult to actually interpret just because um, certain actions that the SEC takes is hard to understand what their intentions are, or how does it extrapolate to other things, or when does it actually infringe on the thing that they're trying to like protect the investors from, and when does it actually not? And like maybe they would consider putting up Bitcoin into the Bitcoin savers is considered to be quote unquote staking, even though it's actually not staking because on a different chain. And so like their definition of these terms of stake and which is spelled STAKE, not steak as in the meat. Thank you, Gary Gensler, for getting us for confusing that for us.
Did
But
he
like,
spell it
Did he
wrong?
really do that?
yeah, he actually did that. Like, he created a video talking about staking, and like several times in that video, he had to like spell it and say, "Oh, well, I'm talking about STAKE, not STEAK." And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Just like face palm that shit,
As if that was the confusion.
as if that was the thing that like nobody understood or something. I don't know. It was just it was comical for sure. And the funny thing is, like, he didn't do it once. He felt he needed to do it like multiple times throughout this like 3 minute video to explain how to spell the word. But I'm not sure if they would consider savers to be staking. My assumption is that, this is again my assumption is that it's not considered to be staking. It's more aligned with an earn product, which they've also pushed against. Coinbase told or asked the SEC for permission to launch their own interest product, and the SEC said, "I don't know about this. You better not do it. We're not really quite sure. We might come after you." And just that whole thing too. That was like a year ago or so. So it's difficult to tell, but anything they can do as SEC is going to apply to Kraken and similar organizations and CeFi in general. So it's just more bullish to push people onto a decentralized platforms. Like you're you're acting as a catalyst for decentralization, in a sense. So in some ways, I'm actually kind of happy that it's happening.
Yeah, it seemed like the SEC commissioner also very much disagreed with the way that this was done and taking action rather than guidance and just enforcement rather than like actually working with the companies. Like, gee, who would have thought that that would be a better solution? Apparently, the SEC commissioner. So maybe someone has a head on their shoulders and actually wants to see like actual discussion between like regulators and these companies that are doing it rather than just like coming down with some unilateral decision that's saying like, oh yeah, comply and pay us like they did to BlockFi, right? They how much they take out? Is that 100 million from BlockFi and to the SEC? Aren't they the SEC's like? Sorry, isn't the SEC like the one of the top 5 creditors for BlockFi because of that settlement or something like that? It's like I do not understand any of this stuff. Like it's just so crazy to me that this all just happens this way.
Yeah, pretty good business model for them. Props for figuring that one out.
Just acting like the mafia and just walking around taking money from people, basically. It's how it works.
Yeah, nice place.
Nice place. Do you want insurance to make sure nobody comes here and wrecks this wonderful, beautiful place? I'll just cost you a few dollars a month. I don't know, mate. I think it's in some extent it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see how this is going to play over the long term. But at the same point, what happens in the meat space, I'm not particularly interested in or follow too closely, just because they're going to be wailing their arms and flailing around all day and yelling and screaming about X, Y, and Z. And while that has a relationship to like the viewpoint or the perception that this industry has with the greater world, in the end, we're still just gonna keep focused on what we're doing and ship what we're trying to ship and like push the envelope. So they can start yelling like an old man on this porch yelling at people to get off the lawn and all that kind of stuff. But we're just gonna keep on shipping code and making valuable services and products.
Yeah, very bullish THORChain savers, to be honest. Especially like who could even offer a Bitcoin yield product at this point? Does anyone still offer that in CeFi anymore, or have people given up on that because they haven't figured out how to make any yield yet? I don't think does anyone even offer that anymore? I'm actually not even sure about this. I should probably look into that.
I don't think so. I think they all, to my knowledge, they all kind of collapsed. I think maybe Gemini might be a place, possibly, maybe.
Yeah, Gemini, Genesis isn't doing so hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, I'm not like up to the latest, but last I heard it was they were not doing hot, but they were still technically operating. But there was like signals showing that they might.
Oh no,
not.
Genesis filed for bankruptcy back
Oh, did they?
Back in November, December. Yeah. Womp womp.
Yeah. Well, I think they're all going away in some sense. I mean, they'll come back too. Like, to be fair, like there'll be new BlockFis and Genesis and new Voyagers that will arise into the future for sure. So they're not gone for forever. I'm sure they're going to come back in another form, but the same fundamental thing. But and we'll see how those go, which will more or less be the same.
Yeah, when's the first one going to come out that just uses THORChain savers, but then just they just custody it, they enter in the yield, they maximize, they minimize the slippage and everything like that, and then they just pass off the yield and take a cut. Maybe we'll see something like that. That's what I would like to see in the future.
I mean,
for a
Bitcoin
Bitcoin yield product.
That'd be fairly tough for them, just because the amount of capital that these large institutions can pull in is obviously a lot. And it's significantly more than what THORChain can possibly support from a saver's perspective. Like the yield is not there to support, $10 or $30 billion of Bitcoin being thrown into the network, or whatever. Maybe that might change into the future, like in the next bull market. That it might be possible to be shifting and changing as Rune's price performs well, and also as we get more integrations like Trust Wallet, as we were saying earlier, just to create more yield and increase that the revenue of the network itself. But I don't think we'll see that anytime soon, to be honest.
Yeah, so I guess the next to talk about is Binance Smart Chain, which is looking like it is happening most likely. I haven't seen anyone really speaking out a lot against Binance Smart Chain at all. So like I I believe that some initial work is being done right now to get Binance Smart Chain off the ground, and that's also something that'd be very strong to loop in with the whole Trust Wallet integration. And part of the reason why I think it'd be successful is just because just look at Binance Beacon Chain, which has no volume basically anywhere else uh, in, in crypto like at all really, and it is one of the biggest chains on THORChain itself. Maybe that's just because the deepest it's been around for the longest, and it's one of the oldest BEP2 dexes and the only surviving one really. But Binance Smart Chain integration just makes is just it's valuable because all these partners, they like, people want to be able to settle onto these like very very cheap chains, low gas, and there's a lot of user adoption with Binance Smart Chain. So uh, yeah, I'm curious to hear your guys' opinions on BSC and like it just putting new chains on the network. I know it's kind of been on pause for a while, but it seems like there's more of an appetite, but it's kind of shifts by the day on kind of where things are going right now. But it seems like people are kind of hyped up on potential BSC integration right now.
Yeah, was there any update on like kind of providing the node operators with cost estimates and stuff like that? Like, has that already happened?
I think there was a cost estimate of like $800 or something like this, or something around that vicinity, if I'm not mistaken. If you're, we've seen more bare metal pop up in the last few months, and for those people, it may be significantly more difficult to support Binance Smart Chain, just because I think the resources are more intensive, and depending upon the hardware they're running on, they may or may not have the additional capacity in terms of memory or in terms of CPU or disk storage, and so like each individual bare metal person will have to like do their own little analysis of like how problematic it is for those individuals that may need to buy new hardware, which takes time to get like shipped out to their their mom's basement or whatever it is. So yeah, it's gonna cost some money. What's interesting, what's unique about Binance Smart Chain is that it could possibly lead to us decomming the BNB chain, right? Because or maybe not. I don't know. It's debatable like what we can or not, because like the BNB assets on both chains, and they're they are the same asset, just like USDCs on multiple chains. And so like you could make a reasonable argument to just to drop the BNB chain and just replace the Binance Smart Chain. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't know. That's something we can discuss as a community later on. But
So do you think that's actually like a positive thing if that were to happen? Because I mean, there's a huge amount of liquidity. It's the deepest stablecoin pool with BUSD, and unless there's a way to like quote unquote upgrade it to Binance Smart Chain, which I don't believe that there is, because they're different
mm,
addresses, they're just completely different networks. Like, do we really want to see that liquidity leave THORChain and then potentially just not find its way back?
yeah, that's a valid point. It's something we can discuss as a community. I don't really have a personal opinion quite yet. I haven't really gave it too much thought. But you're right. The BUSD pool is the deepest stablecoin pool we have right now, and in part because it's the cheapest with the stablecoin, because we only have two chains right now that have stablecoins in them. And that's ETH and BNB, and obviously BNB is a lot cheaper than.
We have AVAX too.
Oh, do you have a stablecoin on EVAX? I thought we just had just the AVAX coin.
Yeah, yeah, we have USDC, and USDT is whitelisted, but I don't think there is a pool. I don't think anyone's put liquidity into
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. I mean, it's something to be discussed. Like, I don't really have a strong opinion, like I said, but if Binance Smart Chain launches and it has a larger adoption to it, then maybe that gives gardeners more support for, you know, dropping one for the other, or maybe not, or maybe just supporting them both. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the ideal would be the BSC chain overall has so much more demand that a lot of yield is being generated, and then that deepens those pools. And maybe it's not like a turn one on, turn the other off immediately, but over time, the the natural incentives just can shift the liquidity from BNB to BSC because obviously, like, yeah, I mean, the reason that it is so deep is because it's kind of the OG cheap stablecoin on THORChain, but in reality, like there's no real reason that it would be that and not BSC BUSD, right? Like there's no actual advantage to that I understand. It's just kind of like the legacy one that is still there. So hopefully there would be a way to I don't know if it could be incentivized. I mean, that's maybe not the route, but to figure out a way to get that same liquidity over would be ideal, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, step one obviously is to launch Binance Smart Chain to see what the adoption is, how much liquidity is actually being passed in. I know there's a lot of people who are very positive on the liquidity of Binance Smart Chain, and that may very well may be true. I'm a bit more bearish in this moment about how much value Binance Smart Chain, or even just adding any chain for that matter, will add, just because the market is quite bare, and nobody's really paying as much attention as they did 6 months ago, and so we probably wouldn't see as much, like, large volumes of. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just making a reasonable guess here, but like, we'll probably not see much. That doesn't mean it's not valuable, or that doesn't mean we shouldn't be adding new chains like Binance Smart Chain. It just means that we just can't temper the expectations. And again, it's the same thing I was saying before about like loading the spring for Trust Wallet and other wallets that are coming down. Like, chain integrations are the same thing. You load the spring now, which takes a lot of time and effort, and validate the code is good, and iron out all the bugs or issues that Binance Smart Chain may have, so that when the market does go, bull again, we have a lot more connections to a lot more chains, which offers much more value. Kind of like how in social networking, the value of a chain is n squared, or n referring to the value of a social network is n squared, and referring to the number of individuals on that network. So you have an exponential increase in the value that a social network has with the more people that it has, and that's conceptually similar to this to some degree, although not the same thing, because people are all the same within a social network, and the chains are not all the same in crypto. But generally speaking, the more connections you can make to more chains, the more valuable you provide to a larger community, which is also very like positive things. And so when we position ourselves to have like access to more economically viable systems, when we do go bull again, and everybody starts trading and everybody's getting excited again, euphoria is coming back, like all those things, it's quite beneficial to have all these chains, whether it be Binance Smart Chain or Dash or Monero, or whatever other chains that are people want to add downstream.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. It just really further fulfills the vision of THORChain of agnostically connecting the most economically significant chains. And by those metrics, BSC is clearly way up there and is an obvious yes. The only reason to like question that is like the current economics and like whether you personally, how you feel about BSC. Like personally, I don't use BSC at all. I don't really care. I don't know if I'll really use it, but I just think it does make sense when you just consider how big it is, how much activity there is, how relatively, like, I mean, yeah, there's some cost, but it's not technologically super. It's an EVM. I mean, it's not like something that would take the devs like a year to figure out or whatever. So it seems to make sense overall for positioning THORChain as the just the agnostic cross chain infrastructure, and that's going to be super valuable. Like whether it's valuable immediately or it takes 6 months, 18 months, whatever it is. It feels important.
Yeah, I mean, also like the economic value of a chain is it's good attribute to look at how much value it can provide in theory to our own ecosystem. But obviously, it's not the only one. And so, like in this particular case, because it's an EVM chain, there already are a host of different bridges that do exist to bridge, to other chains already. And so, the value prop that we have for Binance Smart Chain is probably less than it is to something like a Monero, where it's completely isolated, or a Doge where it's completely isolated now. EVM chains already have connections through, layer 0 or Stargate or like other similar concepts and bridges, although flawed in design they may be. So I'll be curious to see what happens over the next, like, the first 30 days after this thing is launched, whenever that does actually happen, which I don't even know when that's actually going to happen. But the first 30 days just to see what kind of adoption there is. But to be honest, I'm just not that. I'm not that. I don't think it's going to be some massive amount of liquidity coming in. I think it's just about loading the spring.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
I don't.
liquidity is the harder part here of the challenge, and like that's something we've seen with I think both Avex and Atom is just the lack of like it's what you said, just the lack of liquidity, and I wonder if that's just because of the dual sided mechanism of staking, where it's just more complex and it's more difficult for someone to stake two assets on two different chains and to do that and there's more things to think about mentally than just like the single sided staking of like sabers or something like that. So that is one other thing is just growing this pool with like let's say we're in this world where POL is activated and since they're at 50%, like can this pool grow just from savers deposits and POL growing the pool? Like is that a more sustainable way to grow a pool rather than relying on dual sided liquidity from the start and having very shallow pools that are taking up a lot of fees, but the UX isn't great because fees are very high for swappers.
Yeah, I mean that's it's an interesting question, something that could be debated. I think that well, one way you can look at it is, and there's multiple ways you can look at it, but one way you could look at it is if you're bullish on the THORChain network or the Rune asset, and probably everybody in this room probably is, or at least the vast majority. And let's just imagine that we get, like, say we launch Binance Smart Chain, there's not a lot of liquidity in it relative to other chains like Bitcoin or whatever, and the fees are very high because the pool is relatively shallow, and we're sitting currently at around $1.50 or $2 room price right now. And let's imagine a scenario which is not ridiculous, but we hit like $100 room, right? Which is, it may sound ridiculous to some people in the world, but to me it's not so much. And by doing so, inherently so, the pools of those pools become much more deep, right? Just because the room prices are getting larger, and that will just cause more arbitrage opportunity, blah blah blah, and more things to be sucked in from more BNB on Binance Smart Chain to be sucked in from the greater market. And so it's like a natural thing to happen that as Rune's price performs well, especially relative to the assets that it's holding, it naturally just causes the pool to grow even larger, even though nobody new is providing liquidity into those pools. So there are multiple facets you can look at it, and that's just being one of the angles. And you can talk about savers and the yield being higher on those things and blah, blah, blah. And you could argue that BNB has a few different ways you can earn yield already within the Binance Smart Chain that it's going to compete against, just like Atom has a staking mechanism that THORChain's savers is competing against in a sense. All these things are like different, multifaceted and complex, and they all interchain with each other in complex ways. So it's really hard to predict.
Yeah, I don't know how many different yield products there are on BNB itself, but like just looking into it briefly, one of the things I saw is BNB Vault, and the yield for like it uses a couple different products to get its yield, but the yield is less than 1%. I think it was about 0.85% or something like that APR estimated, which is much lower than anything else that's on savers currently. So if anyone here has like the knowledge on where people will get yields on BNB and like what opportunities there are for like Smart Chain, not for Beacon Chain, be very interested to hear about that, because at least from what I saw on Binance's own pages, the yield is actually like very low and offering a competitive rate. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be offered, but like having a high yield on savers, I don't think it'd be difficult to get a higher yield on savers than it would be to be higher than whatever the yield that Binance advertises their own staking product at 1% or so. Like that doesn't seem like a very high bar for BNB savers to cross. But where's the audience? It's like who is actually entering these things, and with how much? Like you can get 1,000 people entering what they're putting in one BNB. It's not going to add up to an insane amount to make um, just to make fees that much lower and to put that much more liquidity into the network. Yeah, you need a lot of people to get a lot of liquidity, and there's a ton of liquidity on Binance Beacon Chain right now, which is just very impressive. Even though there aren't a lot of new LPs, coming in and leaving, it's basically been a lot of people just setting and forgetting over long periods of time.
Yeah, much agreed. Yeah, I say let's launch it. Let's get it out there. That's the initial value prop right there, is just having the ability to bridge another chain without requiring on wrapped assets and such. And I'm not terribly worried about liquidity so much in that pool or those pools on Binance Smart Chain personally. It's just something we'll think more about it when we get further down the stream. But right now it's just about integrations. Like the bear market in general, with the exception of some like major features like savers and lending and such, is mostly about integrations, and loading that spring.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to discuss? We can let people up for questions too. If there's anything, anyone can hit the request button on the bottom left. You got to be on mobile to do it. But if anyone wants to come up and ask or just talk about whatever, talk about their opinions on chains or stuff coming out of the gate or Trust Wallet or whatever.
Well, a lot of people are thinking about questions to ask. One of the things that is kind of interesting that the devs are working on, I thought would be kind of fun to briefly go over, and I think there'll be a separate conversation in Discord at some point. But one of the Nine Realms devs, predominantly Ursa, has been working on a new regression testing framework for the THORChain code base, which is really kind of fascinating because it's a way of being able to explain testing various things just through a simple text file, which is in what's called in a YAML format. But it's a way for anybody, even if you're not a dev and you don't know how to code and you don't know how to write Golang code or run unit tests or any of these things. You don't even need to set up your local environment necessarily. I think you'll be able to just run it through using the online CI tools, and so you can add a new test that tests that this scenario that happens this way or doesn't happen that way or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, which will just allow just to pull upon more of the community to be a part of the testing and validation of the network itself and major new features, which is an empowering tool the community even for non-devs to contribute to the reliability and quality of the system as a whole.
Yeah, I got a little demo on it the other day, and it's actually really cool. I definitely would not have understood what you just talked about. I'll try and explain it in my own words, which is probably gonna butcher the hell out of what Ursa actually did. But it is a pretty cool framework that, from how I understand, just basically just tests. You can run all these different tests and make sure that whatever feature is being put into THORChain is not breaking anything, and just making sure that all the accounting is right. So for example, this framework it was developed because of the issue with the pausing trading the other week, that accounting issue with an affiliate refund. So this entire new framework was developed just to make it easier to test when new things are put into THORnode, being able to verify that they work as intended and don't have these kinds of errors and things that could cause some kind of panic or potential exploit or any other kind of vulnerability. So the demo that you saw was really cool, and yeah, there's going to be a Discord stage probably next week, and we will I guess we'll probably do a live demo of the framework and just show how it works, so that way all the contributors to THORChain can check it out and just make use of it. And hopefully this will just make it that much easier to be testing lending and things like that before things go live. Because as we were saying before, you know, as THORChain is maturing and other people, other apps are relying on THORChain to be reliable, to be online, to be secure. We really need these frameworks in place to just have those assurances that, hey, there's not going to be more issues that are causing having to pause trading. There's not going to be these any mistakes that's going to jeopardize all the all the hard work from all the devs and all the contributors to getting THORChain to the place where we want it to be, and making this reliable piece of the native asset infrastructure. So this is one of the steps on that journey, and it's just kind of what's been being worked on over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll do a stage next week, and we'll show everyone the new regression test framework, and then people can start using it, and hopefully that'll help nudge along things like POL, things like lending, and whatever else is coming to THORChain core. So shout out Ursa, the goat.
One thing I would like to say in response to what you were just saying is that we want to make sure we're doing the best we can to mitigate, having production-related issues like the one we saw the other day from pausing trading. But at the same time, we also have to acknowledge that it is code, is live code. It's always going to have issues at some point in time. Like Uniswap had a major issue just like a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, or a month ago, whatever the hell it was. Bitcoin's had issues for decades after it was launched, right? So like, you'll never actually remove the problems entirely. Any piece of organization or code, whatever, is always going to have from time to time some things. As things get more ossified, the likelihood of there being problems goes down over time. As we're adding new features, or making code changes, like that one code change that one of the members of the community put forward that created the issue to begin with. Sometimes innocuous changes are not so innocuous, and so it's hard to unsee the cross section of some of these changes that are being made of the greater system. So my point is that like, we want to create a new framework to make it easier and faster to detect such things and protect ourselves from things getting forward. But there's nothing you can ever do to actually completely remove it entirely. It doesn't matter how many tests you write or how much validation you do. Things are always going to get through. It's just a natural thing to happen in any code base in crypto or just in the greater world.
Well said.
Cool. Yeah, we can show that off next week. That'll be fun. Have you played around with it at all, Chad? Have you done any tests yourself?
I was playing with it today. I got like a little private demo from Ursa. We jumped in like a Zoom to kind of like to walk me through the different aspects of how it's designed and implemented. It looks really good, really solid. I like the structure of the way he did it. I think he did a really good job of it. He's already added a few tests to the lending PR that's still open, and found like a bug, for example. So it's already I think he at least found 2 bugs so far. One in the production code, like a small issue, not a big deal, but one small issue there, and a bug on the lending PR. So it's already kind of giving us some fruit in a matter of speaking.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Brought up K coefficient.
Hey guys.
Hey.
So I was just trying to see what's going on with the lending everything. It just seems kind of stuck in no man's land. Is that not sounds like there might be more happening than meets the eye. I know Grassroots Crypto put out a kind of a roadmap for testing, and is anybody doing anything with it, or is it just dead? That's all.
No, I mean it's not dead. It's also one of the things that are happening from a dev perspective that's being worked on. So it's been in like the review process for a long time now, maybe a month or two, whatever it's been. but yeah, that's still it's still going on. It's still going on. It's just moving a bit slower. And that's a natural thing to happen as you get larger teams and as the network itself becomes more mature, that the dev cycle kind of elongates. That's partially why, like, you never really see a lot of code changes happening on Bitcoin, just because it takes so long period of time to make any even small code changes. So I wouldn't be, concerned about anything like that. There's no problems or issues, or anything like this. It's just becoming, slower and slower to make changes in the protocol, which is bad in one sense, if you lose that agility, but it's also good in another sense because you become more ossified and more careful about the changes that are being made. Back in the earlier days when I was first building this protocol in the very early days, like myself and another dev, Heimdall, would move very quickly and very fast, and would just move a little bit loose in a sense, just in the interest of progress, which is fine to do in those early days, but it becomes less and less able to do so as the network matures and gets older, but also becomes, as Cow was alluding to earlier in the conversation about, as more other protocols and wallets and such become more reliant on this network, they're looking for reliability rather than some, revolutionary new feature or whatever. And so that all becomes like different points of pull on the project in some sense. So lending's still going on. It's still being reviewed. I'm hoping it'll get merged in the next couple weeks. I'm hoping a week or so. I mean, that'd be great from my opinion. Whether it does or not, we'll see. And then after that happens, we still have to start the testing itself, which will be done on StageNet. Either at the end of this quarter or maybe even Q2. Who knows?
Okay. Are you still thinking about? I know there was some chatter about collateral types. Are we going to restrict it to like Bitcoin and Ethereum only, or are we going to have all the?
Yeah, this is a debated topic.
Is that going to be weeded out in testing?
So what collateral types is obviously separate from testing, and this kind of stuff. But it's a kind of a debated topic, and there's different people within the dev community the dev team that feel differently about it. On the one hand, some people are on the mentality that and this is just my personal stance, is just that we allow any layer one asset or any primary asset per chain, or we sometimes referred to as the gas assets, and just leave it up to that, and just be clean, straightforward, go for a governance minimalist perspective, and not try to get into a place where we start to pick winners and losers and say we like this asset and we don't like that asset. That creates an opinion, and for me, I always thought this network should be neutral and be amoral and without any idea of if asset A is better than asset B outside the context of what's secure for the network. Some other people think that we should just do it for the major assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe, or maybe even just Bitcoin. I don't know. I think that's a debated topic within the devs, and the community can welcome to debate that topic as well. But it hasn't really been determined what the answer is to that question.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, to speak up the lending thing just a little bit more. I think people are just kind of hesitant to merge things that aren't fully complete and having all these tests run against them and things like that. Just because any code that's merged to the Thor node and is live in production, even if it's on StageNet just runs the code that is already merged to mainnet, right? So even if it's being run on StageNet, that means that code is there on mainnet. And if there is some kind of exploit or something causes a consensus failure or anything, that's just a huge pain, and not something that we want to be having to explain to Trust Wallet and every other wallet and exchange that wants to integrate THORChain. Like, oh yeah, hey, we're just implementing our experimental lending protocol, and it broke and things are down for a couple of days until we update. And but hey, the integration is still coming along, right? We don't want to have those conversations, and want to keep pushing on the integration as hard as we can. So yes. Let's just chat open his water bottle.
Sorry about that.
It sounds like you're opening a blister packaging or something like that.
Sorry about that. I should have muted.
What's he doing, Dad? Making lunch?
You're good. All right, Juggernaut. Hey, man.
Hey, everyone, you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Wait. First, THOReau is a real success of THORchain. That's very, very great. I will ask a question for not for now, for the future. You all see the exponential evolution of bare metal capacities. Few time ago, 1 year and a half or 2 years, I don't know. Two SSD, 120 gigabits were enough to build a bare metal with a double Xeon processor and 128 gigabits of RAM. Bueno, now it's the recommendations are 8 tera. It's exponential the evolution of the material. You see what I mean? So the integration of BSC, is it a problem of memory, of hardware, or anything else?
I'm not totally sure I captured all of that. I think the question was asking about bare metals in the Binance Smart Chain daemon, and what the problem is there. I think that just depends on the individual bare metal and what kind of resources it has remaining after setting up the current node, right? Does that make sense? Am I answering your question? I'm not sure if I got your question correct.
No, I just say that because THORChain evolution means an exponential evolution of the hardware too. It's what I think. Yes. The other question is about the Cosmos hard fork, which will mean Cosmos SDK evolution or Tardamint evolution will it allow THORChain to use more than 120 nodes without performance issues? I mean, for the future, not now. Now there is no issue.
I think you were asking about two different things there, but maybe I just misunderstood something. I think you were initially started talking about the Cosmos hard fork that's coming up soon. That's just so that because they're making a backwards incompatible change to the code base of the hub, the Cosmos hub itself, we have to pause trading and do the and have all the nodes upgrade their daemons to the latest version and then continue on. It's just that's something we're going to have to do on various chains through the lifespan of those individual chains. And then your question was about some sort of code change that was made to the Cosmos SDK itself, about increasing the number of validators. Yeah, maybe. Right now, we don't really see a need for that. Right now, the theoretical limit on the number of validators THORChain can support is 125. That's a artificial cap that the code actually implements for the time being. But we're still at under 100 now, a little under 100, whatever the hell the number is, and so we don't really see a strong demand for the extra 25 or so. So it's not really a question that I'm terribly thinking about quite at this moment, unless we start to see, another 25 validators pop out of nowhere. I mean, we can start thinking about ways to scale the validator set. But I can't imagine us really getting to hundreds of validators personally, just because the requirements are so high in terms of technological requirements as well as capital requirements. So I think we'll probably, in my opinion, we'll probably get to 100 validators, give or take, and we'll hover around there for the next couple of years.
Cool. Thanks, Chad. Felix.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. First of all, I want to say that I really love the DEX aggregator functionality that THORChain has. So thank you very much, guys, and big respect that you managed to do that and get some DEX aggregations on the Ethereum chain. And my question is, are there any plans for adding DEX aggregations of, say, for example, the Cosmos chain, like Osmosis, or other chains?
Yeah, so we've talked about doing osmosis in the past. It's not really like a top priority at this particular time, but I think we're all more or less interested in doing it. I don't think anybody's spoken negatively about the general concept. The question is, how is it actually implemented? And there's two ways of actually accomplishing this task, to my high level knowledge, which is not in depth, to be honest with you, but there's two ways to accomplish this task. And one is we can add osmosis itself as a new chain integration into THORChain, and then that becomes the way to swap to various other assets in the Cosmos universe. That's one way to go at it. The second way is we actually don't integrate with osmosis directly, and we just use the Atom token itself and utilize. There's a newish feature within the Cosmos world of aggregating multiple transaction types together across multiple chains as part of a new IBC thing. So I think it's theoretically possible, although I haven't done my own due diligence to go into the depths of it yet. But I think it's possible that you can actually that instead of sending the Atom tokens to an address when we do a swap to Atom, it triggers a series of transactions across multiple chains, including Osmosis, where it sends the Atom tokens to by IBC to the Osmosis chain, and then also just does a swap to some other asset, and then does an IBC transfer to another chain, which let's just call that Juno, for example. Which the final result of that would then be some Juno address on that particular chain. I think that's theoretically possible, for my like light-hearted understanding of it, and that may be the way to go. Just because if we were to add a new chain like Osmosis directly, it would be more expensive for validators, but also it probably wouldn't have as much liquidity as the Atom token is, and so it's probably more efficient from a capital perspective to support only the Atom asset as the only native pool on THORChain. And then to get to any other assets within that, it just goes from Atom to Osmosis to swaps to Juno or one of the other chains in the Cosmos world.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'd like to say thank you all, guys, for your great work for humanity. I'm serious. Really great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. Yeah, anything else, guys? I think we pretty much covered everything. Only other thing I could think of is that ILP is now deprecated. So if you enter in a new dual-sided LP position, then there's no more impermanent loss protection, and that's just in favor of savers. So if you're looking to not experience any impermanent loss, recommend to enter savers. And if you don't care about IL and just want to earn double the fees, then dual LP is still always there for you. So we're in that part of the life cycle.
Yeah, and if you already have a position, it's still valid. So you still have protection if you want to hang on to that. Just don't add to that position. So if you're looking to add, just do it from a separate address, so you don't forfeit the ILP if you're concerned about that.
Yeah. Over the long term, ILP should trend down over the next 6 months or 12 months, whatever it's going to be. So it probably won't really matter in the long term. But yeah.
Cool. Any last thoughts? We'll wrap otherwise.
Not for me. I think we're good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Nice chat with you guys again.
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention this last week. We're gonna be at ETH Denver in March. That's like less than a month away. I believe it's March 2nd through the 5th. And we're helping Shapeshift sponsor a booth there. So some of the Nine Realms team will be there. I'll be there along with some of the other guys. And yeah, we're just gonna spread the good word. And if you're gonna be at ETH Denver, then make sure to stop in and say hi, because we'll just be hanging out with the Shapeshift guys, and probably getting some more talks on for integration, just meeting with people, talking with builders and things like that. So hoping to get some nice BD connections made there at ETH Denver. And if you're around, then definitely come say hi.
Yeah, I'm trying to make my way out there, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it or not right now, but I'm trying to figure out a way for me to get my ass out there as well. So if I'm there, I might be able to chat with some of you guys in person.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do it. And yeah, we need to see THOReau out there too. So
Maybe one of these times, mix the
no
the
problem.
meatverse and the metaverse.
If you come out,
Yeah, this will be a good one. It seems like everyone's going to be there, like just from so many different projects in the ecosystem. So yeah, THORChain's going to be there.
THOReau, if you come out, buddy, and I'm there too, I'll buy you a beer.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
All right, sounds good, guys. Let's wrap, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
See you guys.